Welcome to the planning board, it's February 12th. We have a quorum. We're gonna start off doing some administrative business. So we have to appoint Paul Tassini and Ed Sterling to the master plan steering committee after a couple of resignations. So do we need to talk about this or just vote on it?
It's up to you. Paul Cassini owns a business in Hudson, so, we thought he'd be a good fit for economic development,
Mm-hmm.
and he's, volunteered to be on the economic development task group, along with you, Eric. And then, Ed Sterling obviously is a longtime resident that's been involved with the open space and recreation plan. He is also, a business owner, so,
Former selectman,
former selectman, thank you.
among other things, yeah.
Yes, that description probably did not give him justice.
I can make a motion to appoint Paul Tassini and Ed Sterling to the master plan steering committee to take, do I need to say to take the place of Kevin Weedoff and Michelle?
I just put it there, just
Okay.
so to let people know.
So just to appoint them?
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't see any minutes in here.
No,
Yeah,
she said
No.
she didn't have them.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't get
Okay.
to it.
Alright, well. Should I just open it? Mike, give him one more minute, or?
Actually, if you don't mind, can we just have 1 second? I started my draft minutes and it didn't save, so let me just call in the agenda for the, it would just, before we start discussion, it might just be easier for me if I have the right, right information on here. Peter, did you second the motion to appoint Paul and Ed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Since I'm on the committee, I wasn't sure if I should or not, so.
That makes sense, I get it. So just sort of an update on that, I guess. So as far as the task groups go for the master plan steering committee, I know some of you had expressed interest at the last meeting in participating in that, so you are officially in those task groups. I don't know yet whether or not Bob Rumler has reached out to you or if I'm supposed to be doing that, so I'll find out, I'll coordinate with him, but Danielle will be on the climate change and tourism group. Eric, obviously, you're on economic development, and then James, you wanted to be on the schools.
Yes.
So, your name is officially
I
next
see,
to.
I see doubt in his face.
No,
Yes.
I was.
If you wanna change your mind, feel free.
No, no.
But.
Push through.
It was doubt.
Okay.
No, we're gonna push.
Alright.
It's a little warm.
We actually stalled for you, so we didn't open it. No, we had enough, but just wanted to wait for you. So here we go. All right, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 11, notice is hereby given that the Bolton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 12, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen room of Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, Mass. To hear and act upon the application of Marianne C. Cassidy and Kurt C. Cassidy, 683 Main Street, Bolton, Mass. 01740. The applicant is seeking a special permit pursuant to Section 250-27.1 Barn, Stable, and Carriage House Preservation, the Code of the Town of Bolton, to conduct a home occupation, artisan studio, and retail space in the barn located at 683 Main Street, identified on Assessors Map 1 as Parcel 7 in Bolton's residential zoning district. Kurt, Cassidy?
She's a chick, talker.
He wants me to talk.
Water.
We are currently operating under in-home business, and at the request of the town, we make this application without prejudice. It's our intent to preserve the barn, and one of the best ways to do that is to let people see it and conduct business in it. And the number of people that come into our shop that say, "Tell us about this barn," is probably
If I charge them a buck, I'd
and it's a great structure, if you haven't been in. The whole back wall of the barn is built into the hill, and it's all dry stone, what am I trying to say?
There's no mortar or anything, it's just a
Yeah,
drywall.
a dry stack mortar,
Yeah.
or rocks.
Stones.
And it's been there since, as far as I know, like 1820,
I've made up so
1850.
many stories when people. I don't know the truth.
And it's still standing, and it's still plumb, and it's still, in great shape. And I think our use as a little artisan shop and antique shop and a gift barn is a great use for it. And we're welcome to answer any of your questions or.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, we're happy that the barn bylaw is coming into play, and we've heard, a couple of these now, so it's great to get that used and save the old structures and to bring in a business that attracts people to the area as well, so. I don't really have any major concerns about it. So you said you have 3 parking spaces up there. I mean, you've been operating for a little while. Have you had any issues with people coming to that?
No.
Yeah.
We have 3 parking spaces to the left of the barn, and then also our driveway.
Yeah.
So we can park like 7 or 8 cars there, but we never have that many people at
Yeah.
once. We also have on-street parking right in front of the house and barn. And, people get nervous about the driveway and stuff, sometimes they park at the Houghton building.
Mhm.
But that's usually, on a Saturday afternoon or
Yeah.
something like that. It's nothing that interferes with the town or anything like that.
I don't imagine, Erica, there's been any complaints or anything from neighbors?
No, not at all.
We don't have neighbors.
Huh?
We don't have neighbors.
Do you own the cottages on the property as
Yeah.
well? Is anyone renting that? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, done a couple of rents that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So really, our neighbors are the Houghton building, the church, school, and maybe, the house across the street that has a real estate sign on it. So,
Did everyone know that cottage is actually Bolton's one-room schoolhouse?
the first schoolhouse of Bolton.
Oh, really?
I had a friend that rented that maybe 15 years ago
Oh,
or
really?
so, yeah. He redid the floors in there and the wood floors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool place.
What are your hours of operation?
9 to 5, Wednesday through Sunday.
10 to
10 to 5,
5.
sorry.
5 Wednesday through Sunday. In the March to whatever,
Yeah.
November.
Usually the end right around Christmas.
Yeah.
Wednesday through Sunday,
Mhm.
and it's seasonal, you said?
Yeah, March through December, basically.
We closed down in January for snow and lack of heat and things like that.
That makes sense.
Boredom.
The barn's uninsulated, so it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I have no concerns or questions really. I mean, it's a great use of the property and it's good for the town, good for the historic structures. Any other questions?
Eric, should we just go through the checklist really quickly, just so
Oh,
that we can
okay.
hit all the targeted points in the bylaw, and that way I can include it in the decision and.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I read through it and I was happy with it. So nothing was checked off on the accessory apartments since that's not what they're doing.
Everything's checked out.
Yeah, so. I mean, so the structure must be in existence prior to 1925, which it was. Efficient off-street parking must be provided, and such parking areas must be keeping with the character of a single-family residence, which we talked about. No external change which alters the residential appearance. No exterior display. There is exterior displays, but you said nothing's permanent and can be removed.
And people love the displays, they say, oh, we saw that Sasquatch.
I'll second that, it's great, I don't mind seeing all the new stuff.
Yeah, no, it's good, it's nice. Permitted use shall be carried out by the person who resides in the principal dwelling of the barn, stable, or carriage house, which is the case. Not more than 2 persons other than the residents of the dwelling, and not more than a total of 4 are employed, and I think you said in here that it's just you essentially. No equipment.
Can script my daughter into it.
Yeah. No equipment or process shall be used which creates offensive noise, vibration, smoke. Orders, yeah, I should imagine that's not an issue. Permitted use shall not allow shipment by vehicles not customarily making deliveries in residential area. I don't think there's any
Yeah, like, we got
18-wheelers.
FedEx or
Yeah,
Amazon.
Amazon, whatever.
and that's standard.
Yeah.
Yes.
No highly toxic, explosive, flammable, combustible, corrosive, radioactive, or similar hazardous materials.
You wanna check that?
I'm gonna send that to me. Sasquatch isn't radioactive. Yeah. The occupied space for the permitted use shall not exceed more than 1/3 of the floor space of the living area of the principal dwelling, so it's not in the dwelling.
Yeah, no, it's an accessory.
Yep. Barn, stable, or carriage house and principal dwelling must be and remain located on the same lot. Yeah, it all is. Existence of safe vehicle access to and from the property, yes. Existence of safe pedestrian access to and from the site, yes. Barn, stable, or carriage house shall meet all building code requirements, sure. Compliance with fire department requirements, compliance with state and local board of health requirements, and compliance with state and local wetlands. No issues. We've got the application.
With regard to the building code, does Mike need to sign off on that? Makes sense. He's the building inspector?
He's already been there, he was there before.
Okay, so,
Not,
You might
not
like
in
that.
connection with this, but, you know, other stuff that we've
I
done.
just wasn't sure how,
I mean, we haven't done any work on the property,
Yeah.
so it's all grandfathered in anyway. It's a barn and it'll stay a barn and, you know.
No issues.
One question that tends to get asked when we're doing these public hearings are, bathroom space. Is there a
There's no
bathroom?
bathroom.
No bathroom space. I'm sorry if that was already.
And there's no water or anything up there, so
Okay.
no needs to put bathroom in.
Yep.
So, if there's no questions from anybody, close the hearing.
so do you want me to make a motion, or do?
Yeah, make a motion to
So-
close the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I haven't drafted, obviously, a decision, so it might be easier to hold off on actually voting on a decision until I have the decision completed and then, or a draft decision completed and the board can.
Sure. Either way.
One question that I have is, and I think we alluded to, or we talked about this at one point, but I don't know whether there's any way around it. You indicated that you thought the decision would be personal to us, and if possible, we'd like it, you know, to run with the property. So if we ever go to sell, we have no intention of selling, but if we ever go to sell and an artisan wants to use that barn, it helps them and it helps us, you know, say that, yes, it's gonna be okay. You know, as long as they meet the requirements, obviously, of the code and everything else.
So the way that the bylaw reads, there's a section in there that specifically says special permit will run with the applicant and not the property. So even if the board wanted to do that tonight, we couldn't, because it's in the bylaw.
But I mean, if and when you go to sell, the fact that we granted it this time,
Yeah, yeah.
assuming that it's.
It would
you
just
know,
increase
you
the
know, but-
value of the
Yeah.
property, I think,
Yeah,
if we had a
but, yeah,
permit attached to
I mean, if
it.
somebody was moving in that was doing, you know, sandblasting or something, or that, you know, something that created a lot of noise and a lot of.
Right, right,
You
you
know,
wanna hear about it.
we'd wanna hear that, and we wouldn't grant that, so,
Mhm.
you know, we just, you know, this just gives the town protection to say,
Okay. Worth a shot,
but again, the fact that it's been granted says the town is amenable to that use,
yeah.
and, you know, and if somebody is interested in buying it, you know, come and talk to us, tell us what they're planning on doing.
Right, right, they can do that ahead of time.
And they can do all that ahead of time, and then,
Like I said, we have no,
We can't.
yeah, well, I mean, someday you'll sell,
yeah.
you know, so, but. Okay.
So you want us to hold off voting?
It's up to you, I mean, we could do it one of two ways, we could hold off, you
Mhm.
guys, we could vote at the board can vote at the next meeting and review the draft decision at that point, or you can vote tonight, then I have 14 days to get it recorded with the town clerk, so that means I would have to send the draft via email, and then it just makes it a little hairier.
Are you under a time?
We're doing it at the town's request, so.
Okay, all right, so if you're not.
Do we have to come back, or?
No.
No, it was
It's
more.
just paperwork
Yeah.
for us.
As long as it doesn't matter to you guys if we open in March without it, and then,
However you wanna do it, however works best for you, Erica.
I prefer, moving forward, I prefer to do it in a second meeting, it just makes it cleaner and easier.
Okay.
We'll just do it at the next meeting, it's not an issue.
So,
okay.
Could I see the draft opinion, or draft decision?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and if you have any comments,
Yeah.
yeah, gives you a
feedback.
chance to.
Right.
You can feed it back to Erica and she can
Mhm.
incorporate anything.
Okay.
Perfect. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks.
You don't want to stay?
I don't get a ride home.
It's a short walk.
But I-
the store?
Yeah.
Good night, thank you.
Night.
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 Thank you.
Do we have to wait a few minutes, Erica?
Sure, it's only 5 minutes,
So yes, wait.
I would, yes, I would. Just in case we get a few more people.
It's really crowds to descend.
Anything interesting to say about master plan committee happenings?
And it's moving along quite nicely.
Great.
They're really ramping up to do a survey. I think some of the members are meeting tomorrow to work on that. So that's really gonna be one of the initial steps, is to get feedback from the town. It's really.
So what's the survey
It's kind of
kinda,
amazing.
what's
Yeah.
the survey gonna say?
We don't know, I don't know yet. I don't even think it's in draft form yet. We've been
Oh.
really just pulling surveys that have been done by other towns and various, regional planning agencies and trying to figure out what kind of questions are pertinent for us and would give us good data, so. Is that fair, Mark? You've been sitting in
Yeah.
on these, these meetings, and also working on the task groups, figuring out what their mission's gonna be, and then also who's sitting on them, so.
So have any of the task groups kinda started up or is it still?
Oh, yeah, like transportation, I've met with Mary and Ken, and so they've been moving quite, pretty far along. And Canny and some of the other members that are sitting on the facilities, task groups, they've been meeting with Joe and getting sort of a handle on that, so.
Hmm. Cool.
No other word on integrative health, right? Or-
So that's no longer
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But you said that somebody else expressed interest in it?
Yeah, I I mean, it's not on the agenda, but yeah, there's another company now that's interested in doing, marijuana establishment.
Yeah.
And
It's very, it's
it's
nothing.
very early in the,
Yeah.
discussion.
Do you guys know what happened to the medical place on 85? Looks like it closed up, or?
Yes, this is for lease. I'm not sure.
I heard that, this is just Facebook groups, I don't know how accurate it is, but they didn't have like a lot of like business, so whatever group was, I think it was Neshoba Valley, maybe, medical.
Yeah, I think what, the doctor that was there left that group and
Yeah.
nobody wanted to take it over, so they,
Okay.
closed it up, I think is kind of what happened, but.
Yeah. Yeah, that used to be a
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick,
Well, he was
yeah.
in town, so he had a
Yeah.
Yeah.
little more loyal following, I
Mhm.
guess. Hey, Tim.
You doing?
We're just stalling for a couple of minutes. Verbally twiddling our thumbs. What's going on with 470?
Nothing yet. We're still just kinda getting things together from everything and seeing what's going on, so. We'll eventually get there.
When did we do that permit? Was that more than 2 years ago, Erica? For 470?
It has been, but, Jane was right on top of it, and Mike Savager weighed in, and said essentially, if she starts at least demoing the
Well, they-
existing house, that will be,
Well, they already did that.
that's what I'm saying, so that shows action that they've
Oh, okay.
taken, or that's
They're
activity.
acting on the permit.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, not that, I just wanted to know if we needed to like extend it
No,
or something.
not since they've done that.
Okay, that's good. Well, that'd be cool to get that. And that was
Yeah.
a good, that was a good looking,
Yeah, no, we'd love to,
Structure.
yeah, we'd love to. I mean, everything obviously cost us a little more than we expected for the Duncan, the whole renovation, so.
yeah,
It's like open up a can once you get into that building, so.
yeah.
It looks wonderful.
Thanks.
All right, cemetery.
Close enough.
Good stalling. Okay, oh boy. This is always so fun. All right, I gotta read this, bear with me. The planning board will hold a public hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, on Wednesday, February 12, 2020, at 7:30 PM in the Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, to consider and receive comments from interested parties concerning the zoning articles to appear on the warrant of the annual town meeting, which will be held on Monday, May 4th, 2020. The articles are summarized as follows. Amendment to Bolton, Massachusetts Town Base Map and Zoning Map dated September 2016 to amend zoning district boundary lines associated with industrial business and limited business. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-23.2 to eliminate the business zone portion of parcel 4.D71 from the mixed-use village overlay district. Amendment to the Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-12 to add bed and breakfast establishment and bed and breakfast home to the schedule of permitted uses under the residential zoning district by special permit from the planning board. Amendment to the Bolton zoning bylaw, section 250-21.f to add a bed and breakfast bylaw to regulate bed and breakfast establishments and bed and breakfast homes in the residential zoning district. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-28 to add definitions for bed and breakfast establishments and bed and breakfast home. Amendment to Bolton zoning law, bylaw, section 250-17.c, 7C to add parking requirements for bed and breakfast establishment and bed and breakfast home to the schedule minimum parking. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaw, section 250-27.L1AC to provide the town the option of placing a lien on applicant's property as means of collecting fees in lieu of units as part of inclusionary housing required in development of 8 or more dwelling units. And that's it.
Question,
Hearing is officially open.
Erica, when we actually do the article, the first two would be one article, the next four would be one article, right? Even though they're all listed individually?
that's how we've done it in the past.
Okay,
If
yeah,
they
'cause I was
were-
gonna say.
If they're related to each other, a lot of times we.
Cause I think we talked about three, there's kind of three separate items.
But in order to do the legal notice, it just
Sure,
makes it
sure,
easier to do it this
yeah,
way.
that's fine, I just wanted to,
Yeah.
also, I was like, what did we talk about doing like
We have
six or
so many
seven?
articles.
So, the first article, was what we attempted last year, so let me just read it off. Amendment to Bolton's town-based map and zoning map concerning the Main Street and Forbush Mill Road area, the 495 interchange area, the area along Main Street near the Stowe Line, and the mixed-use Village Overlay District. So the intent of this bylaw is to match the business zone lines to the actual property lines to make development easier and cleaner. And also there's residential properties where there's, business zones within those, so it's to clean those up and just make it all residential. We have a big mix of properties here. I guess, so one thing to know, it was a question last year at town meeting, and in past meetings, if anybody's watched, we were thinking on, so on a split zone, we were thinking that you take the entire lot coverage, and that's the percentage, but it can only be placed in the business zone. What we found from town council is that all you can consider is the business zone. So where that comes into play is some of the, a couple of lots, there was a smaller portion that's business and a larger portion residential, so if we make that all business, then it could mean that a bigger business than what would have been before could now go in there. So that's something that we can discuss. And I think those, the main properties that, that is in play would be, the Bolton Capital Group, and I believe the large Kane property. Is that correct, Erica? But besides those two, it really is a cleanup. I wouldn't say that they're, you know, those are the two that there would be a major change in zoning. So we also got a letter from Bob Romer, the chairman of the Master Plan Committee, where he said, do we have that printed out or not?
Yeah,
You do.
yeah, it's in,
The third,
next one, next page.
Just flip it. Okay, so Bob Romer said, the agenda for tomorrow's planning board meeting indicates that several proposed zoning articles will be discussed for the May 4th annual town meeting. In view of the fact that we are embarking on an overall master plan for the town, I don't believe it is prudent to move forward with articles which will impact boundaries and permitted uses until we have understood the big picture and have a very extensive and visible input from the town residents and businesses in the form of survey, responses, public meetings, and charrettes. The current master plan is well out of date. The town has changed in many ways, and it's time to step back and propose zoning changes in the light of revised master plan. So, I see his point. So that's why I was bringing up the couple where there is, you know, major changes. But I still think that the ones where we're tweaking the lines, just, you know, to match the property lines, where we're not, you know, changing how, like, the overall use of it, or not even really, it's not even gonna really mess with the calculation. I don't know why we couldn't clean those up, you know?
I honestly, I would table this till after the master plan's done.
Yeah.
Just my personal feeling
Yeah.
is, reading that and then reading this other definition, I don't think it's.
What do you mean, other
I,
definition?
100% agree.
The definition of, lot coverage, knowing that it was interpreted a different way when we were originally drafting this,
Yeah.
and now we
Well,
understand town council.
I definitely agree, with the Bolton Capital Group and.
Yeah, no, I know
for
you're,
sure.
but I would just, I thought Bob's email was right on, and why don't we just do this all at once, after the master plan's done, we'll have a better idea, we can just put it all together then. I think it's a little jump in the gun now, having kind of reviewed something, just my thoughts.
I respect a lot of Bob's opinions. I also don't agree that we should put planning on hold, waiting for the master plan to get done, but on the other hand, you know, I also, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna fight too hard for, for this. You know, I mean, the reality is that, you know, like, and the calculations in here for Bolton Capital, and if somebody was gonna, you know, I mean, they're at about 11% coverage now in the business area.
Right.
So if somebody wanted to expand that, they could come in and they could, you know, if they wanted to increase it, they could come in and bulldoze down what's there and put up something new.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing we can do to prevent them from doing that, so. you
Yeah,
know, whereas if it's rezoned properly, then we could
Yeah.
push to preserve that and you know, have it expanded back or whatever, but, I mean, I'm not gonna, but I don't think we wanna, I think if we said, well, we're gonna pick out one or two properties that we're not gonna act on, then 2 or 3 years from now, when we, you know, after the master plan is done and everybody's happy, then it's gonna be, oh, well, you're spot zoning now. So, I mean, it's a no-win there, so I think, we should just table it, I think.
Are you tabling everything, or?
Well, so that's why, I mean, so for
Well,
instance, Frank's property, I mean, he's trying to get something done, and, you know,
I agree in that, you know, but, you know,
and you're not drastically changing, I mean, it really is just a misalignment of the zone. It's not changing the intent, it's not changing what he could do there.
I mean, I would say the same thing about Bolton Capital, but.
Yeah.
In my
that's not gonna
property in
fly as-
particular, I don't want.
Well, could you actually state your name?
Frank Chiodo,
Yeah.
and the property is 2527 Forest Mill Road. It's straight business zones, the far left portion is residential, which I will keep that, but as you know, the way the lines were drawn in, they were crudely done, so all I would be looking for is just to draw a straight line, so that little piece of residential down the very end is clean and defined, and the business is clean and defined. I'm not looking for a big aggregate swing in either zoning.
So where the line is it where you potentially would wanna put a property? Yeah,
Maybe down the road, what I'm getting at is, as you know, the way things were drawn in, they were just, you know, willy-nilly, just boom,
Right.
boom,
Yeah.
and,
yeah.
you know, so that's all I'd be looking to do. And as far as the Bolton Capital property, I think it was discussed at last year's town meeting, no one's taking a bulldozer to those historic buildings.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
So, can I just ask, so I've got the map, I
Yeah.
think what was proposed though, so this is existing conditions, that's, you can see the line goes right, you know, this is your property line, but it
Yeah.
goes right through it in a weird way.
Yeah,
I think what was being proposed was to make this all, just to give it the whole property, but that's not what you're saying.
No.
You're looking for. So, if I'm understanding you, you're basically saying just to take this and go
no, yeah,
straight
just
down?
draw a straight line, you know, define
And
it
then-
at a given point.
I think Frank, what he's saying, you didn't really carry the way, I mean, you just.
Well, I'm not, at this point, and especially after what I'm hearing tonight, the last thing I would wanna do is give up a residential portion in a town that is not receptive to business, cause that's what I'm kinda
Yeah.
hearing tonight, is we're gonna wait.
Well, so you'd almost
I mean,
prefer
it-
we don't touch your zone?
I mean, I'm not looking to make it all one or all the other, I'm just looking to just draw one straight line down rather than have it all carved up the way it is.
Yeah, so
Because
we,
it comes in on a crazy angle, so.
So, we weren't really like, the point of this wasn't to be like, okay, well, this is gonna be this, and this is gonna, we were gonna make it all one or all the other, you know?
It sounds like that's not,
Yeah,
No,
that's,
then I wouldn't participate in
Yeah.
that.
yeah. We, so, I mean, doing what you wanna do, like, so for instance, what we did with Tadmore, when we did Tadmore, they had this kind of situation. But what we ended up doing is, when we defined, like the Fosbury outline of what that was, we A&R'd the business zone portion out of that, so it became 2
Right.
lots.
Yeah.
By doing what you're saying, potentially we are, you know, mucking with zoning, like making a lot that's this and a lot that's that. So the intent was just to not change any A&R, any lines, it's just to lot the property, so. I mean, if it was gonna be all one or all the other, you'd prefer almost just to leave it, essentially.
I would.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Paul Slade, South Bolton Road. In view of the conversation I've been hearing, I'd like to say, first of all, that I share some of Bob Romer's views about the advantage of trying to coordinate this with a master plan. I would also like to underscore my view, which is based on some professional knowledge, although I won't say exhaustive, that the fear of the term spot zoning is somewhat overblown because the challenges that have come up on that basis in what are often is not really NIMBY situations, but a situation like what Mr. Chodo is describing underscores a point of view I was considering before I came to the meeting, that in a town like Bolton, the existing uses, the nature of the terrain, access, really all factor into what is the most appropriate zoning arrangement for any particular parcel, not only for the landowner, but for the town as well. And I think it may be a little short-sighted, before or after the master plan, to assume that making zoning lines comport exactly with property lot lines is, should be a universal goal. Obviously, if there's a small lot that is undeveloped and should be one way or the other, it's nicer for everybody if the zoning line cleanly matches the property ownership. But, that's not always the case. Mr. Chodos, I understand it has a mixed-use property already. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's inclined to think that zoning should accommodate that rather than undo it. And there are other tracts of land in Bolton that are large enough that external factors might dictate that as they are divided over the years, the opportunity exists for different uses on different parts of the property. These are all theoretical observations. I don't want them to sound as if I'm trying to champion either viewpoint from Mr. Chodos or any other particular property, but I think the board would be well advised to take these into account, considering the wisdom of this proposal. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything? No? I mean, there's, there is one lot where somebody would like to redevelop, but they currently grandfathered, their business is straddling the line, so if they wanted to redo it, they couldn't rebuild because they couldn't build their business, They came, did David come? Okay.
Is that the gas station?
Yeah. So they're like, so that's one of the cleanups I was talking about, and that's probably the one that's most interesting because, they're right, they're straddling the residential and the business zone line. So if they wanted to redevelop that and put in the, bulldoze what's there and put in a newer gas station, they couldn't do it because they'd be building half on business and half on residential. And you couldn't fit it on just the business portion because then you'd be not meeting variances, up against the boundary. I don't even know if physically it would fit, but, so that was the one that I was most interested in. But I agree, I guess we should, I almost, for the cleanup ones, I'm not sure, I'm totally sure with Bob, for sure the bigger ones, but I'm fine with tabling business overall.
Okay, yeah, would be prudent to
Yeah.
table it, just
Yeah,
to back up the lot coverage.
yeah,
Calculation, the interpretation has changed.
yeah,
and-
sure,
And because we are going through the master plan
Yeah, no, that's
process,
sure.
and I would like to hear from the economic development task group on
yeah, for sure.
what their thoughts are.
Yeah, no, that'd be
And
good.
just one clarification too, because it's, and maybe I'm hearing it wrong, but I don't know if there's confusion in the room about mixed use, so just because your
Right, I
parcel's
heard
split between business and residential doesn't mean you can do both, you have to do one or the other. You can't do both on your property unless you're in the mixed use village overlay district.
right, and if it's business, it has to be in the business section, if it's residential, it's in the
It's
residential.
one or the other.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gonna say something?
No.
Just had an itch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw movement.
I did have another question. Last year when this was discussed, there was a interested party that was at the meeting about self-storage at the Atlantic Microwave property, which I believe, did you guys vote on something?
Yeah, that was approved, oh, well, I mean, that use was
Right.
added.
And then you would ask me if I was interested in that down in Forbush Mill, which, and I think Mark said one thing at a time, so is that getting discussed this year?
But-
To
So,
bring it back, especially now since
it
it
was,
sounds like Atlantic Microwave is gonna be a marijuana.
so that was approved
Property.
in industrial zone, right?
Yeah,
Storage. And you're not industrial zone.
No, but you had asked me if there was any interest down there, I said there could be, and then I
If you
believe
had
Mark
interest.
said,
I just
Mark
don't remember
said
the
to
exact
just, to do that one last year, and you guys would discuss that this year. So I'm just asking if that's,
Are you saying self-storage and business
Commercial?
and commercial?
Yeah,
Business, limited
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
it's not limited business, it's,
It's full business.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about it, but we wanted to, we just wanted to put it industrial at that point.
Right, and then you said you would discuss it, this year.
I mean, we haven't discussed it, so it wasn't on the books.
Okay.
If it's something you wanna bring up, I mean, we don't have time to do it now, clearly, but if it's something that you wanna discuss as a potential, you know, we could do it for next year. But it's definitely not this year. I don't really remember talking about it being in business that much.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe it was just.
No,
an
you
update.
had said about adding that into the business, and Mark said, why don't we just do the
Oh, okay.
industrial and we'll talk about it
Oh,
for
okay.
this year, that's why I was
Yeah,
asking.
okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about it. And there hasn't been any, push for it. And we were thinking just industrial, but if there was interest in it, we would definitely, you know, be willing to talk about it.
But if there's interest, I mean, it's gonna be like that guy where he came to you, I think it was 3 months before the town meeting, and so he went back to his people, I believe with, you know, not a affirmative, so.
Right. Yeah, I think when we talked about it, maybe I'm paraphrasing wrong, but I felt we thought it was most appropriate in those industrial zones, the Cobham property and the Paragon property, but I don't think, I think there are questions about it being, you know, in business zones, so it could be more in the center of town. We thought it was good where it was,
Yeah.
I think, if I'm paraphrasing kind of this discussion.
Okay.
So I definitely think there would be a lot more questions to, having the storage facility in business zone, because there are right in the center, you know, right in this, kind of the center of town, and that might not be as appealing as it, where it would be in the industrial zone. But anyway, so that's not this article. So do we vote to take this off, Erica? Or how do we go with this?
So, I was looking at past years, what we've done is we've closed the hearing, and then we've made a motion to approve and support zoning articles based on amendments made throughout the hearing.
Okay,
You do it that way, and then we could also add additional language to that vote about how the board's decided to table, you know, the article about the zoning boundary
okay,
changes. I think that could be the easiest way of doing it,
okay.
or we could, as we go through each article, it's up to you.
Probably just to close it out, if you want. Is that all right? Is it, proper to do it that way?
Although, I'm kind of thinking,
Yeah,
I think we want to.
just brainstorm, we typically always close the hearing first and
Okay,
then vote,
that's
so
fine.
let's
That's
keep
fine.
Yeah, I
it,
mean,
let's keep it that way.
the hearing is for all of the articles,
Exactly.
so.
Yeah,
that's-
exactly.
all right. So, as long as there's no other questions from the board or the audience, we'll move on. So the next article,
Covers next 4 items.
yeah, it's one article, but it covers all four, four of the items that I read off previously. Amendment to the Code of the Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3, zoning bylaw, Chapter 250. Zoning to add section 250-21.f, bed and breakfast, add bed and breakfast to the schedule of permitted uses, and add definition for the bed and breakfast. So,
And that needs to have the parking requirement, too, right?
right, that's all it's different parts of this.
It's-
So just summarizing, in town, we do have a couple of pre-existing bed and breakfasts, which are grandfathered. Potentially some others that would like to be expanded or not. But basically, as a board, we felt that, the bed and breakfast, is a really good use for the town, and it makes sense. I know I've talked to a couple of realtors who, thought that it, would make sense in town. We word this as there's two types. There's the, bed and breakfast home, which would be 3 rooms or less, and the bed and breakfast establishment, which would be, greater than 3 rooms.
Four to
Four.
10.
4 to 10. Both would be residential zones only and would be, under the special permit, guidelines, so, we'd have to go through a public hearing. Should I read through this whole thing, Erica, or do we wanna just ask questions?
Which part?
Like, for part 1, should I read through,
Yeah, I think we should go into details.
okay.
Which one?
Alright, so, part 1, to add the code of, so bed and breakfast establishments and homes as follows, so the addition, so this is the additional wording. The planning board acting as a special permit granting authority may grant a special permit for the renting of rooms as a bed and breakfast establishment or bed and breakfast home in the residential district. An owner occupied and operated dwelling of residential character may be used as a bed and breakfast for the lodging of overnight guests, provided such dwelling and the operation thereof meets all of the following conditions. A, the bed and breakfast use shall appear incidental to the primary residential use of the dwelling. B, the bed and breakfast use shall not be substantially detrimental or offensive to the neighborhood or destructive of property values therein. C, guest rooms shall contain no individual cooking facilities. D, breakfast may be provided to guests from a central kitchen and shall be limited to those who are permanent residents and paying overnight guests. E, visibility of parking and service areas from public streets shall be minimized through site arrangement, and such areas shall be screened from abutting properties. F, domestic scale shall be maintained in the building's architectural design through massing devices such as breaks in wall and roof planes, and through the design of architectural features. G, pedestrian and vehicular movement to, from, and within the site shall be safe and convenient and arranged so as not to disturb abutting properties. H, the bed and breakfast shall meet all building code requirements and shall have properly installed and maintained fire safety devices for the protection of all occupants. The bed and breakfast shall be subject to compliance with state and local board of health requirements and state and local wetland bylaws and regulations. Any other conditions, safeguards, and limitations on time or use may be imposed by the special permit granting authority. I will read through the whole thing. So 2 is just the table of uses where we add under residential, bed and breakfast establishment with special permit required in residential and not allowed in business, limited business, industrial, or limited recreational business. And then bed and breakfast home, which is allowed as a special permit in residential and not allowed in any other zone. And then the third part to this is the definition. The definitions where bed and breakfast establishment is a private owner occupied dwelling where 4 to 10 rooms are let, a breakfast is included in the rent and all accommodations are reserved in advance. And then bed and breakfast home, which is a private owner occupied dwelling where not more than 3 rooms are let, a breakfast is included in the rent and all accommodations are reserved in advance. And then the fourth piece to this is the parking, and this, so that, we have a table for scheduling, minimum parking. So under bed and breakfast establishment at home, we say off-street, on-premise, off-street, on-premise within 1 space per room rented and 1 per owner,
Minimum.
minimum.
Yeah.
So that's all the pieces to it. I guess the other good thing for the town would be, for bed and breakfast home, it's not, there's no, rooms tax, but for bed and breakfast establishment, the 4 or greater, rooms tax would come into play, so potentially the town could get some funds, which would be good. Like, you know, there's a couple of grandfathered bed and breakfasts, which whether this passes or not, you know, nothing's happening with them. But, you know, this could potentially add, you know, some more business to town that, you know, meets with the farming, orchards, small shop type feel that we have in town. And as a board, as we've discussed, we don't really see, we don't see any huge detriment to that use. So, any questions from the audience, or?
Paul Slade, South Bolton Road again. The first thing that comes to mind, I'm afraid my attention to business of the town hasn't been able to overcome my disinterest in electronic communications. I was not aware of any of this. I'm a co-owner of one of the buildings that's currently an active bed and breakfast home in town. Is there a copy of that agenda available at this time? Do you have extra copies of this proposal? Thank you.
Would you like, this is the actual draft bylaw?
Oh, do you?
Yeah, if you'd like to see that.
So it's got all the articles, so just skip to page.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's all, yeah, it includes all the articles.
Yeah,
You have to
do you
skip
need this
page-
back?
Page 4, yeah.
You can have it.
Okay.
Page, it starts at the bottom of page 3.
Okay. The other comment I'd make is that, with the exception of some rather minor local additions like wetlands and parking architecture, I get the feeling this pretty much echoes the state law that's in effect at the present time anyway, doesn't it?
I believe we got this from Stowe.
Really?
Did we get this?
It kind of came from a
Couple
very,
different places.
couple of different
Yeah.
places, couple
Yeah.
different
Okay.
towns.
We looked at neighboring towns similar to us.
I see.
And most of the neighboring towns do have, you know, do allow bed and breakfast. Currently, we don't allow it. There are bed and breakfasts in town which are grandfathered in and we're not.
Well, frankly, I don't know the status of Bolton's home business bylaw. I had likely assumed that that might cover someone who wanted to have a bed and breakfast home, at least within their existing residence. But perhaps that's not the case.
So, good question.
The only other thing I guess that comes to mind is regarding the restriction to residential zones. On the basis I discussed, I would have presumed that someone trying to do a bed and breakfast home, who by coincidence was in an existing structure in one of the very few non-residential locations in town, would have been able to do so in the past. I don't know whether you're considering the possibility that people in existing structures would be able to do that regardless of the zone. Because if it's being used as a residence, as a pre-existing use, it's not clear to me why taking in a few guests would be disqualified. Again, as I said, that probably reflects back to the whole business question, and you'll have to consider that at your leisure.
So in-home,
So the only, I did some research on I did see that the inn on West Pond, which is the one that you were talking about on Hudson Road, when I did a little more research on that, I believe that came in under home occupation. Mike allowed that, basically what Paul was saying, and I have a description, it's very specific, how, it was permitted by Mike.
Which one was this?
The inn on West Pond, and it was on, it's on Hudson Road.
It's it's like a red house.
Now, I don't
across
know
from-
if this business is still in play, I just know that back a couple of years ago, they did get approval.
Yeah.
I would have to contact them to see if it's something that they're still, they're still doing.
While she's looking
I
for that.
apologize, I'm not trying to-
So as for your, so if it's a pre-existing residential use in a business zone, should it also be allowed to be at a bed and breakfast? I wouldn't be against that. I think what didn't want is, we basically don't want new residential in the business zone. Right? I mean, we don't allow residential in the business zone. If it's a pre-existing non-conforming residential use, which I'm trying to think of a property that would be that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Look at whatever you wanted to clean up here, one of those.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah, Bolton Woods Way was one of them, but I think that's all like the edge of their well, no, there is some houses in the industrial zone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
all of, I mean,
Yeah,
all of,
yeah, there's
Yeah,
all
All
houses
houses on
right?
the left.
yeah, Bolton Woods Way, but besides that,
So the description for the inn on West Pond, that was provided to the town at the time when they were applying for a business certificate, and Mike had reviewed it as a home occupation, and they had said it was for a retreat of a group of 5 or less to stay overnight in an antique home with a studio space in which they would do sewing, crafts, and gathering. A length of stay would be 3 to 4 days at a time. And the owners of that property actually are the owners of the Quilted Crow, so it was sort of,
Mm.
it was sort of related to that. They wanted to be able to do these little retreats, so Mike allowed it.
So that, I don't consider that a bed and breakfast,
Yeah.
because I think that absolutely falls under your home occupation definition. A bed and breakfast is specific to the kitchen and the, breakfast being provided and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was never evaluated as a bed
Yeah.
and breakfast. I just wanted, I know we had talked about
Okay.
that particular
Yeah, so I think that makes sense, I
property,
mean,
and it is
yeah.
called an inn, so I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah,
And,
it does sound more
Yeah.
like a home occupation.
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and again, I don't even know if they're still doing that.
So-
I- Or if they ever did it.
I know they did do it,
Did they do it?
yeah.
Well, I guess the question is what we're putting forth, does that, I mean, without putting this in, you couldn't, I don't think you could, I guess the question is, could you have under the home occupation, could you ask, like, say that you were in the industrial side and you just wanted to do, 5 rooms, so we're into the breakfast establishment definition, could you even get that under a home occupation definition?
A bed and breakfast?
Yeah.
You should be able to.
Okay.
I view those as two different uses.
Yes, okay, so so what we're trying to do is provide the ability for residential areas in town to obviously have this. I mean,
That's the point, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the question is are we prohibiting it from areas that are half residential, half something else? It sounds like we are, but I don't know if that's necessarily,
Yeah.
I mean, I think if someone really wanted to do a bed and breakfast,
I think it's a really
they could,
minor corner case.
yeah, I mean, they could individually come in and request a zoning bylaw change, right?
It might be like a ZBA type thing or something. Right, I mean, if somebody in
they were-
Bolton Woods Way was in the industrial zone,
That's, yeah.
They would need a variance or something.
They can get a special permit to alter or expand their use, but if that's not an allowed use within that district, I don't know how that,
Yeah.
I have to think about
I think that's like a very big corner case that we probably will have to address.
Okay, I was just trying to consider what you had just
Yeah.
Just a
mentioned.
thought I think
Yeah.
it's appropriate to discuss, that's all.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I
I
wouldn't
just think we're
mind-
getting into the weeds if we start
I
talking
mean, I
about
wouldn't
that.
mind asking Paul if you wouldn't mind just how business is for him as the only true bed and breakfast in town, and I'm curious.
Yeah.
Actually, I was restraining myself from making that my first comment on the subject, given the chairman's rather rosy picture of the potential future of bed and breakfasts in Bolton. I'm not sure it's gonna live up to your hopes, it certainly hasn't to ours.
Well,
It's a nice little sideline, but we don't have a big tourist economy here, and I'm not sure we ever will.
So I guess my other comment then, you know, similar to the previous article, do we wanna wait and see how the master plan plays out?
This isn't a zoning thing, I mean, this is, I don't see why we'd have to wait for the master plan, whether it's worth doing or not, you know, it's probably a question.
Yeah, on this one I feel a little differently just because it's providing one, a definition that's absent in our zoning bylaws.
Yeah.
It's, and providing some guidance for if it was there. It's certainly not delegating, this needs to be certain, you know, areas or stuff like that, so I don't think it's going to affect the master plan
Right.
one way or the other. And is kind of how I'm feeling,
Yeah,
but
that's how I feel.
if
So,
others
so
feel
I just had a
different.
question, this email from Bob, is that, to me, the way I read it, it seems to be saying, you know, articles that impact boundaries and permanent uses. So it
So
seems
he's
to me
thinking-
that the concern was for both. I mean, I'm in
Yeah.
favor of it, but just the way I read that email. So, just something to consider.
Does anyone have a timeline on this master plan?
Is it two, we were talking about a 2-year
Couple of years, yeah.
process?
So nothing's gonna get done in town for
No.
a couple of years, and then you're gonna wait another year to actually go through a voting process?
Well,
Is that-
we're within the first year, so potentially by 2021?
I think that, yeah, I think currently the
Is that
draft
too-
schedule
sorry.
is
You tell us, sorry.
spring 2021 sometime in there, I think,
Spring 2021,
Fall.
a year from now?
or maybe it's the fall, it's 2021, maybe it's the spring, maybe it's the fall, but it's,
But to that
My-
point, I
my-
don't
my-
think
my
we're not
guess
gonna
is-
do anything during that. I mean, the planning board's still gonna do business.
Yeah, this is just more
Like-
of anything that's big picture, I think,
Yeah.
is we were trying to.
Yeah, like, you know, we were talking about affordable housing, which we completely tabled. We were talking about cottage,
housing
more
plan.
dense cottage overlay type situation. I mean, we tabled any housing type discussion until
I
master
guess,
planning
yeah.
and affordable housing production plan
I
committee
mean,
was
one
came.
thing that could play into this in terms of the master plan is the survey. I know we will likely be asking questions about what type of additional uses they'd like to see in town, and bed and breakfast is certainly one we can ask, that we haven't asked.
I mean, for that, but I mean, the survey's not gonna be done or, you know,
Not in
to
time for this
affect
town
this.
meeting, no.
So I just, I don't see how this could negatively affect the master plan. It's putting it in allowed use.
Yeah, and also Mr.
And if
Slade said, I mean, I'm not picturing this rosy picture, I was just, I heard some people saying it would be nice, so I just figured it was on there. Just like any bylaw that we pass, typically they never get used.
Well, I guess,
It took years for the barn bylaw to get used.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in this one, I'd be willing to put forth, and obviously if we got strong pushback at, you know, town meeting, it wouldn't pass.
Yeah.
But I think it would be worth pushing it this year to see if
I
we
agree.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think we're gonna get pushback, to be honest
We
with you, but,
probably are.
I
Always get
pushback.
I mean,
Okay,
I
so,
mean,
moving,
so I guess I was gonna say, right now, we're talking about like the structure of it, and we can vote for or against it after, and even from this point to before we go to the actual town meeting, we can pull it as well. But right now, it's just to answer any questions, or concerns,
Or if
and
there's
then-
any huge red flags
Right.
that people have with
Yeah,
it.
and, yeah. So if there were, are there any more questions or
So
concerns?
just
with this
a
article?
minor language question. So under definitions, it's breakfast is included, and over in subsection D, it's breakfast may be provided,
Or it should be shall be provided.
or shall be made available, or something.
Yeah.
You're the official grammar police.
No, I'm just,
No,
no,
that's le-
believe me,
that's
it's
legal
not grammar,
jargon.
this,
That's legal.
this is
That's
just,
legal jargon.
Which section?
So
Mark?
under
So I
D-
know exactly.
Under one D, where it says breakfast may be provided, you should have breakfast shall be made available.
it's a minor. Well, that's why I said it, yeah. Yeah, we're saying that
No, no,
it's
yeah,
included
yeah.
in the price,
Yeah.
and it's like, it may
Yeah,
or may
we-
not be, you
no,
know,
it
it
needs
might
to
be
be.
provided, might not be,
No, it
sort of,
needs to
you know,
Okay,
it's-
so breakfast shall be made available.
Yeah,
Yeah,
To guests from a central kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then you caught in the, very beginning, in the definition under Article B, we just wanna and parking use. So on page 3 at the bottom,
yeah.
where we say article, where we're giving the,
I don't know if I have it in my own.
you just wanna add and parking use.
Yeah, I was sure.
Yeah.
That covers those 4 bullets.
all right. And the last article, fees in lieu of units pursuant to the inclusionary housing section of zoning bylaw. And this is to, to make sure that the inclusionary housing, to make sure we either get our unit or that we get the fee in lieu of, and units aren't sold off, and then it becomes a question of, well, does the new owner have to pay it? You know, we talked about, imposing or putting a lien on the property, so. Let me see the exact wording. This article provides a level of surety that fees in lieu of units will be paid to the town in the event that an applicant sells off all the lots within a development or chooses to walk away from a project under construction. And what are you saying here, that we would add a lien to the property, basically?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's already paid.
yeah,
So this technically only needs to be a general bylaw, but, town council thought that just in the future, if this comes up or becomes an issue, just to make it clear as day, to also include it in the inclusionary bylaw, so there's no ambiguity.
oh, so that's why there were two.
So there's
Yeah.
two different articles, so
Okay.
one is a general bylaw, which is not to be, doesn't need to be part of this public hearing process, and it wasn't advertised.
Yeah,
But the zoning article, obviously.
okay,
would be-
so
The board
base,
selected and approved it.
yeah, so basically,
He showed it as the planning board sponsoring it, even though it's a general bylaw, so I will confirm
well,
with
the,
him if that's
yeah,
right.
there's two, so there's, yeah,
So Article C, well,
Right.
sponsored planning board,
We're C.
so under the
and-
planning board one, we add C, which says fees in lieu of units may be secured through a municipal charges lien on the property pursuant to Mass General Law, chapter 40-58. So it's just that one line.
yeah.
And board selected only difference.
And so town council reviewed this and was good with that?
Because it's a possibility, and, you know, this is the direction the board would like to go.
And by having the lien on it, actually, it would help a buyer of, because there is the potential that the seller doesn't really relay the information that, oh, hey, there's this, you know, $200,000,
This condition is buried in a planning board decision that, oh,
they
you know,
never actually see.
you don't do
Yeah.
due diligence, you may not see, so, you
Yeah.
know,
And-
it is helpful.
It's more
And it's-
transparent.
It's, yeah.
Because then if the seller doesn't report it, the bank would be like, hey, there's a lien on this property for $200,000.
But what property is the lien on? I mean, I guess maybe I wasn't at the January meeting when this was discussed, or was this discussed?
Yeah, let's discuss that.
Okay, I mean, I had envisioned this as like putting a lien on each individual property, like, you know, divided up amongst, like, what the total fee that they were gonna need to pay was, and a lien
I-
for each.
I think we could probably do it that way. I'll confirm with town council how we'd actually apply this now.
I think there were options.
Yeah,
of
we
how.
could do it that way, we
Yeah,
could
okay.
do it on one particular lot,
Yeah.
so that, you know,
I don't think it was specific to, I mean, I think there's a couple different options of how it could be done.
Yeah.
and the goal is to make sure somebody doesn't get everything permitted, sell off all the lots and walk away, and then
Yeah,
have
but-
the buyers
Yeah,
surprised.
so I mean, you need to decide what you're gonna do up front when the special permit.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have to get into those, specifics of implementation in this, or?
No, not in the bylaw itself, but I do think it's a good question to ask town council to make sure we're not missing anything or misinterpreting how we can apply this, so
Yeah.
I'll definitely follow back up with Brian to make sure that our intention actually gets applied here.
Just different.
Didn't you want a lien per lot, or else they wouldn't be able to sell a lot or subsequent lots?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was how I
you could do it either way, I think, either way, I mean, the goal is to protect the town
Right.
and make sure that we get either the lot or the fee in lieu of. So we could spread it across all the lots. That may be more administrative headache for Erica.
But I think you'd have
Or,
to by
well,
law.
or we could say, the developer could agree, this lot is, we're gonna hold that as the fee in lieu of,
Right.
and they could sell every other lot, but then they could never sell or do anything with that lot until the fee is paid.
Like, yeah, perhaps,
So, either way kind of keeps the town's interest in the developer could say, could either pay the fee so you could sell
Right,
the lot.
to release a lot,
Well, we could do it per lot.
right. That's
Which
what I'm
means,
getting at.
which means that every time he wants to sell a lot, he has to come to the town.
Pay up.
Pay up,
Right.
go through, I don't know how long it takes to clear, to release the lien. But, so whatever that process would be, you'd have to do that for every lot.
Right.
Or you could say, we're gonna hold one or two lots, whatever the correct number is. We're gonna have a lien on those, so those could never be sold until
The payment.
until they've paid the full fee in lieu of. And then we would release that one lien, and then that lot is free and clear.
Yeah, I mean, it might be easier to place a lien on one particular parcel.
Right, yeah,
And
or
then-
the number of inclusionary lots.
Yeah, right, because
Yeah.
the way that we have the fee schedule set up now in the bylaw, they have the option of, or, I think it's a negotiation, but I think we recommend that, we split it up between all of the lots, and then they pay a certain amount every time they apply for a building permit.
Right,
But our concern was, what if they just sell the lots
sell
and
the
never apply
lots.
for the building permit?
right.
So that will cover us, but hopefully that doesn't happen, they apply for the building permits and we get
Right.
incremental amounts towards this fee in lieu. And we can reduce the lien on whatever particular, or however many parcels we apply it to, so.
I'm just applying it per lot, I mean, if that's feasible, it just seems
That
that's the
just seems,
best
yeah,
way to-
that might be,
Like, you cannot lose that way, right? They always have to, someone always has to pay anytime a lot is conveyed.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's where, when they come in front with a special permit, that's where we can get into the.
But if the
weeds of
bylaw
putting-
says there's a choice, right, that's,
You think it needs to be,
Again, it's more a matter of logistics and how much, how much effort it takes for Erica or whoever to,
I don't think it'll be me, I mean, I think that'll be either probably the tax collector or the town I don't think it would be me.
yeah.
right, but you may need to generate a
Oh,
letter to
of
them
course,
saying that
of
they can
course,
release the
yeah.
lien, and it's, it may be just the logistics, maybe just easier to have one or two lots in a development as opposed to each lot, but,
And then it still
It-
keeps him
it's-
on the hook without,
right,
Well,
they're on the,
If you sold off all the other lots and then just walked away from that one lot,
we have the lien and it would sit there undeveloped,
yeah.
you know, for
Right, so
some period and then we
the town
take it.
lost
and-
that
yeah.
money.
Well, but we also have the lot sitting there.
Yeah, no one's ever gonna buy a lot that has a $200,000 lien on it.
Bolton Housing Authority would take it. Yeah, no, I mean, we, you know, I mean, at some point,
I mean, we
I guess
originally
that's the
we went to
question.
the building permit at at each building permit they
Yeah.
pay a fee,
Yeah.
because that got out of the situation, but that didn't cover us in the case where the developer sold off the lot.
right,
And I don't think that'll be, 9 times out of the 10, it's gonna be your standard subdivision project where their intention is to build the homes.
yeah.
So, I mean, this is the one-off, just to cover us if we have a developer that.
I mean, even
Yeah.
Keys Farm, one developer filed that special permit and then sold off the whole development.
Correct, but they were
I-
still on the hook
they had
for
to
the
abide,
affordable
yes.
units, right?
Yeah.
And that was before even construction even started,
Yes.
so they hadn't sold any lots at that point.
Okay.
So I will follow the town council now in terms of
So we don't,
implementation.
so we don't need to add any verbiage to this?
It's up to I don't think it's necessary. I'd rather,
I'd rather leave it right now.
Okay, yeah, I
and
mean,
if we need to, in the future, we can, but let's, you know, I'd rather negotiate
Or,
it to
or we
the.
can always amend it on the floor if need be,
Yeah,
but,
alright,
okay.
and that's it, any questions and concerns for any of these articles before we close the hearing? No,
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, alright, so now we, oh, is somebody saying something?
No, not us.
So,
So now we just go through and
now is
vote our
discussion, or
recommendation?
do we, yeah, I was just gonna say, so if we
Well-
wanted to.
So let's go with Article A, which is.
Well, I think the first two, oh, yeah, so you're saying.
Yeah, so yeah,
Article,
so
okay,
Article,
sorry,
yeah, so
let me
the-
go back here. Article A,
Article A,
so,
So we either vote to support it or not support it, or we can just vote to take it off.
I can make a motion to table it.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Second one? The, bed and breakfast?
Article B,
Yeah.
I'll make a
So-
motion, I'm sorry.
I apologize, I don't have a copy of the bylaws now, but we also had the article to change the mixed use.
That wasn't,
That was part of Article A.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My apologies. then.
Yeah, that was all grouped together.
Yeah, the first two is all part of
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So those are good.
All right, good.
I'll make a motion to move forward with Article B as amended, as we,
Second?
Are we approving or just moving forward?
we're
I guess
moving-
both.
moving it forward and we're
Well, you did say
supporting,
Supporting.
supporting.
So I'll make a motion to support Article B as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And finally, fees in lieu of Article C.
We don't need to do that one,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
We
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, right? We have to
Yeah.
vote to. Oh, sorry.
One's the general bylaw,
Not
one's
C,
the
sorry,
zoning.
D.
Well, what do we
C
do with
is
C?
Board of Selectmen, right?
The,
If
it
we're,
doesn't
if we're
technically,
the sponsor, should we support it?
yeah, I
Yeah.
would say it can't hurt to have to vote.
Yeah.
So,
So which one am I supporting?
C.
All right, I'll make a motion to support Article C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, D.
I'll make a motion to support D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Done and done. Our night became even easier on town meeting.
and I just wanna clarify when I do those meeting minutes, I'm likely going to swap out like Article A and B.
With the
With the
actual
actual
articles.
name, just
That's fine.
because that's
Yeah.
gonna change once it's in the warrant.
Yeah.
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 That's fine. All right. We're at 5 minutes ahead of time, so
Right on schedule.
unusual.
Yeah. Do we have
I think it's a starting at
Michael
7.
Willets and Paula Teixeira here?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Alright, so looks like we have the interested parties in that one, so we can do it. So we got Michael Willets and Paula Teixeira of 5 Mount Wachusett Lane, Bolton, and Edward Is Edward Margaret Murphy, yeah, okay, Edward and Margaret Murphy at 15 Harris Lane, Harvard, for an A&R plan endorsement. So,
Very special Colton Harvard crossover episode.
yeah, this is a crossover
Yes.
episode. So I was looking at this, I was looking at the map, so it's basically, if you guys,
Yeah, I can, my name's Kevin Conover, I'm from David Ross Associates,
yeah,
and we prepared the plans for the Willits and the Murphys. As you guys can see, it is a strange configuration, and we're in two separate towns.
yeah, I was trying to understand it, yeah.
I've highlighted several copies, trying to make it easier for you, to kind of show what the original lot configuration is like, which is highlighted in yellow. Town line is obviously highlighted in red. So the Murphy's property is situated on Harris Lane in Harvard, and the Willits is situated on Mount Wachusett. What this plan is an attempt is just to clarify their property lines, make the property more usable. So both lots conform, well, you're only concerned with the lot, not plan both, but it conforms to the frontage and area requirements, the lot shape. We did not change any of the frontages, we just basically changed the lot configuration between the two. As you can kind of see, the Murphy's house was pretty close to a lot line that existed on a plan that was prepared back in the '80s. And this is just an attempt to just make the lots more usable.
So which, I'm sorry, which one's proposed and which one's existing?
Just here's a larger plan.
And parcel 2 is going,
Oh, I'm sorry. He had provided a copy that was highlighted. in that
Yeah,
sample.
it sort of explains it as well. So what we did is we created, the original lot configuration for the Murphys was this.
Is yellow, okay.
Correct.
yeah,
And the Willits was like that. So what we had to do, since it's two separate owners, we created two parcels for the division of the property, this one and this one. So lot 6A contains just under 6 acres, which includes these two parcels. And then the Murphys is these two parcels, and it contains just over 6 acres.
So this,
I think.
you're moving this to here though, right?
Basically,
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I was
basically.
asking, okay.
And
it's,
since-
so they're getting, so you're redrawing the line?
The Willits are getting this portion here.
Yeah,
Yeah, parcel
And-
one's going to 6A,
Correct,
Yeah.
and the Murphys are getting this parcel.
parcel two's going to
So
5A.
what's shaded in gray is what's gonna be conveyed to, or the ultimate lot shape of the Murphys when you're done.
okay.
And what's not shaded is the Willits.
Gotcha,
Okay.
okay.
And like I said, since we're in two towns, it was endorsed by, Harvard last month, so we have to get it endorsed by both towns.
And so, you know, for instance, I guess, this is like if they wanted to add a pool or something for variances and stuff like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You can kinda see that basically the backyard of the Murphy's house was Mr. Willits' property.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that now gives him some more,
Right, it
yeah.
gives them a little
okay.
bit more room. And sitting here with, the Willits here, this was the Murphy's property line until this, so it kinda separates the lots, makes them more
Yeah,
normal. I
More
guess.
regular.
Yes.
More normal.
so
So-
that both of them can do,
so weird how it ended up like that.
Yeah, we know that.
We're not gonna go into that. But
Someone
this
was
is,
drunk when they were.
Yeah,
And we're not creating any new lots.
we're not creating any new lots,
No.
we're not changing
Nope.
any frontages, and actually the
Just
areas
realigning.
are remaining the same as they were before, so.
okay.
So, just to confirm, 15 Harris Lane in Harvard will be fully within Harvard now, and.
No.
No, no,
No.
they'll
We
still be,
will continue to pay taxes proportionally.
Oh, I apologize.
It's the other way, five
Lot.
Massachusetts will be all Bolton.
Lot 6, I was just gonna say, would be all of Bolton.
That's
Yep.
correct.
We're giving
Yeah.
up our Harvard piece.
So like I said, it's more of an exercise in calculations to make
yeah,
more.
and the swap is 1.35.
Correct, it's an equal change of what was existing before, because ultimately it's gonna be the same areas of what
That's good.
That's a
we shouldn't
lot.
have been here, but that's what it is.
And both parties are here, right?
We are. We're all-
Everyone agrees?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe you have the original, right?
Make a motion to approve the A&R plan for, how do I, this is, for Edward H. Murphy and Margaret M. Murphy trustees, Murphy Living Trust, dated, what's the date?
January 2020.
January 21st, 2020.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So what do we gotta sign? You gotta sign all
The
this?
originals underneath,
Yep.
and the 3 copies, I believe, are yours. I'll take this is the color one. This is just more of the.
So they're not going to endorse the one that Harvard endorsed, or?
They have to, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
okay. So Harvard hasn't endorsed?
Harvard has endorsed it
Yeah, they just did it last month.
last month. So in the original,
Do
you
you have
can
pens,
see,
Erica?
Oh, I see, okay. Let me grab them.
I have one if you need. Did you need more form names and stuff?
That would be great, yes, thank you.
Thank you for finishing on time.
Where's just this happy issue? Happier probably.
Yes, I don't know if it's, we're starting at 7 instead of 7:30, or just,
More awake, yeah.
or something, yeah.
We have more incentives than.
Thank you very much.
Oh, oh.
Steering committee's once a month.
Kevin, are there any copies that I can have too?
You can have 3 now, is any easier?
I just need two, one for my office and then one for accessories.
Okay. Do you want me to email you a signed copy?
If that would be great if you could, but,
Do you want me to paper?
yeah.
Signing takes longer than the discussion.
I mean, this is pretty straightforward, so. Well thought out. Yeah,
Do you get a lot of these, re-plottings?
Yeah, fair amount.
Usually developers trying to tweak
Ah.
layouts, but usually not.
Or to create something for a new, you know, to sell it off.
Sure.
We've gotten these like swaps too though.
The swaps, yeah.
Yeah.
We get them occasionally, but.
Not usually when they go to the town line like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that-
Now we've just lost our Harvard
See,
footprint.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good evening.
Thanks.
That's my
I know. My son was playing, so that's why I was like, you're gonna wanna move over.
All right.
Alright, next A and R.
Do we have, Phyllis Stevenson, our representative? Yeah.
Stevensons are here. My name is Seth Donahoe. I'm with Sharman Dillis.
Okay. So we're here to endorse an A&R plan, okay, for lot 1 from parcel 4C 5.1. Okay, want to come forward?
Sure. You guys all have shrunken ones and I'll just lay out bigger. So this is the land that's right between the Small Horizon facility, west of Manor Road, and the existing church.
All right, so hold on, where are we at?
So Manor Road is right here.
Yep,
The Horizon facility is there. It's
that's that little gray brick.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
grown in.
Yeah.
That's the church right there, okay,
And the
Gotcha.
church is there, yep. So
Okay.
we're creating lot one, which is gonna be right next to the church and then right behind the church. It has frontage and area in excess of what's required by the zoning bylaw, almost over 6 acres. And then there's some remaining land, it's approximately 18 acres, that is, west of it and actually goes all the way over on your locus map, it has some frontage on Manor Road as well. This is below the orchard too, the topography rises up quite a bit in that area.
So this is the total lot of these two, and you're creating this one, right?
Correct.
Creating the lot.
Correct.
Okay. Which is, okay, I see, which is this. Okay.
So, this Verizon, I'm just interested in this, so you guys don't own that lot was sold off?
At some point in time, I believe originally this was a much larger parcel, and over the years, pieces have come out of it. I have no idea when Verizon acquired that, or,
I'm just trying to look at what's remaining, if that could be developed at all. I guess they have 90 feet here, so they could do like a backland.
it would qualify as a backland lot, it obviously has well in excess of 4 acres.
Yeah.
There's bits of frontage all along it, there's no proposal to develop the remaining land at this time, no.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
This was the concern you had, Erica, right?
Yeah, but we've cleared that
It's
up,
all
so, and they've added a
not an
great
issue.
note about it required, to make it a buildable lot, requiring a special permit.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay,
su-
okay, that's what
Are
that.
there shrunken plans reflecting that, or
I'm not
I can run through that
It
real
says
quick.
remaining land not a building lot until made to conform with zoning bylaw requirements
Yep.
via the filing of a special permit for backland lot or subdivision approval.
Yeah, so
So that's
it
on
would,
there.
it would be
Right.
fully acknowledged that it would
Yeah.
require additional.
Backland lot
It's
would be
not a,
special.
the A&R is not creating a building lot
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
remaining land.
Yeah.
Cause you can fit like 2 backland lots on either side of the Verizon lot. Or, yeah, it would be a subdivision. But as for lot 1,
So we're here only for lot one,
Right.
that was what the discussion back and forth was.
And I believe this was chapter land, but it's been taken out, right?
It's been taken out.
Yeah, and the,
It was 61A, then went to 61B,
that's,
and that's all being done.
61 A's farm?
It was, it used to be orchard,
Oh, okay.
we haven't used it all for 10 years now, that, in that nature, so we turned it into 61B.
And you're gonna sell this off, or are you gonna,
Which part?
A lot you're creating.
That's being sold to the Catholic Church
oh, okay,
for additional parking and possible expansion at some point for what they need to do.
oh, okay.
They've been wanting it for a long time, so.
And hence the oversized nature of the lot. I think they've had a lot of discussion back and forth
Okay.
on what they need for their long-term
Yeah, they
goals.
needed a 100-foot radius for their well proposal,
Oh,
just in
yeah,
case,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
they needed extra up in the back and stuff like that, so that was all taken into consideration.
Okay, well. I don't see any issues.
Again,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the plan of land for, is it 149 Main Street?
Yes.
Dated February 12th, 2020?
I don't think it's 149.
Sorry.
No.
Okay, no, that's the one.
That's the owner's residence.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll make,
Adjacent
Lot
to-
A adjacent to
Lot one.
800 Street.
lot 1 adjacent to 800 Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Will you be endorsing the Mylar tonight?
Yep.
Fantastic, I'll make room for it then.
We do need a pen, Erica.
yes.
I think I have one, Erica.
Thank you.
I try not to come to these, so.
I have plenty in my office, so.
I'm gonna use yours, all I haven't read.
Okay, there we go. No worries, let me go grab them. I should just leave them in there. I don't know.
Because they'd walk away.
Ready for dinner.
Yeah, that's what it is. Eric doesn't eat before he comes now, so he's in a hurry to get home.
Whatever works.
We had 2, 3 carrots tonight, fish dinner.
Oh, I ate a lot of meat.
Nobody can do
A lot of meat
it.
and
Anyway, you
vegetables.
guys need this.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, most of them.
wants to do 16 and 8 these days too.
Thank you.
Oh, the fast,
Yeah.
intermittent fast.
I don't eat until like 1.
For 1 to 9 of your grazing hours.
I don't graze, to me it's,
I know.
The benefit of doing the fast is you just be able to eat whatever you want during your time.
Um,
along Main Street.
well, it's to keep your insulin, like, you don't, I don't know what I can do, but nobody cares.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah. That's usually when my wife starts from So it's not. It's bigger than normal, it seems. Yeah. You don't, it's weird when you don't make a car, you don't get, cause you don't have like spikes and dips and stuff. You feel very even.
Yeah, not as fun as this.
When's the, trial placement?
First.
March?
Yeah. We couldn't get the high school, so we're gonna do it once our.
Oh, really? We put up in that cage, cage?
Yeah, they'll just do, no, they won't even, they'll hit like this kind of safety balls. That don't really fun.
Yeah.
Split it out by ages.
Carol said.
How do you even apply you in lunch?
Leave two with you.
Let's just start this up. All right, I think
Thank
we're
you.
good.
Thank you all for your
Thanks.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Make a motion to close the hearing?
Adjourn.
Adjourn? Sorry, yes,
Oh,
sorry,
wait,
we're in
I mean,
it.
Yeah, we already
Did you guys
closed
do the other thing?
the second.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did that.
Well, we were waiting for you. Can we get a second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor?